evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned into the Status Network, the live TV channel. This is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author Andrew Snorton. And as we do every second and fourth Wednesday about this time, we have a great conversation with some great guests doing some outstanding things across entertainment, business, community, and more. And tonight we've got an exclusive guest joining us. But before we get into the first segment of our exclusive interview, exclusive show tonight, we're going to take care of a couple of station announcements and ways to remind you of how to stay connected with me, the host. And again, we thank each and every one of you tuning in to the Status Network, not only my show, but the entire Status Network family of channels, radio stations, movie stations, and more. So to enjoy tonight's show, you want to go on statusnetwork.net for the big old pop-up box. Click on the box for Conversation Corner and you're good to go. For those of you that have room on your smart devices, download the Status Network app, click on channels, click on LYVE Live TV, and you're good to go. For those of you on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, and other social media platforms, make sure to add Status Network as well as LYVE Live TV. For those of you on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, make sure to tune in to Status Network and you can enjoy this wonderful show. Couple other real quick things before we get into our first interview segment. And we know some people out there wonder what it's like being on the other side of the microphone. And yes, Status Network, we are actively looking for content. If you or someone you know has a passion, wants to not only just get better, not only for broadcasting, but podcasting, you name it, we do it here with the different channels, radio stations, and more. So make sure to check out the info that you see there. Connect with us. And again, you might not be as good as me, but you can still do something good. I know, shameless plug. And leading into that, to stay connected with me, the author. Think about it. All the books that I've done are available on the platforms that you see there, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and different bookstores, primarily through the Southeast. Make sure to stay connected with me at the social media info that you see there. And on the audiobook end, thanks to our team of Third Level Entertainment and Canis Major Digital, we're on platforms like the ones you see there, almost 300 in all. So you can add to your library audio, visual, you name it. Stay connected with yours truly. And now I'm so excited to bring our exclusive guest in. I tell you what, a person that wears many hats, and that is no pun intended. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but we're so excited to have Kristen Kinder joining us tonight. How are you doing this evening?
I am excellent. I am so excited to be here.
You know what? I'm so excited to have you right here. You can see the glow, the aura in the space and place. So during this first segment, I think it's real important to set the tone that people understand your foundation. And from that, especially when it comes to stewardship and outreach, because ultimately, regardless of the different things you've got going on, that's where it really all starts. So could you give our viewers a point of reference where you are originally from and where you're mainly based out of?
I am originally from a town called Americus, Georgia. Shout out to the AME, down south Georgia, southwest Georgia, and I primarily function here in the Atlanta metropolitan area.
Okay, so here you are coming from southwest Georgia to metro Atlanta, and before you delved into creating your brand, your businesses, we know that one thing that's real important is your faith. If you could walk through with our viewers, would you say that there was a pivotal moment or a series of moments that really, for lack of a better term, helped you reinforce or reinvigorate your grounding?
I think, I'm glad you asked that. So I believe that there are numerous occasions where that's relevant, and I think it's a gradual process leading us to where we're supposed to be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and that started as a kid. It's all of those things. I don't think it's one thing. I am a faith-based woman. I believe in Christ. I believe that Yeshua HaMashiach, they call him Jesus, definitely has a place. He lives in my heart. And so when they say all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose, I believe that wholeheartedly. So to say one event. I believe it was the great moments. I believe it was the moments I didn't understand. I believe it was the moments that hurt me the most. I believe it was the moments that motivated me the most that got me here. All of it. And so to point out one event, no. But I will say the thing that sustained me the most, even when I was weak, were the prayers. The people who prayed, man. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. So to all of the people who prayed for me, if I can set this time to really appreciate you, I'm saying thank you. There was one particular prayer my mom did. I remember I was at my lowest point. This is 2019. I was at my lowest point that I believe in my life was my lowest point. And I came to her, I said, Mom, I don't want to commit suicide. I just don't want to live anymore. Very dangerous place to be in. And my mom prayed a prayer like no other. She straddled me. She got on top of me. And I tell this story a lot because I believe I felt the hand of God through her. And I remember her saying, Satan, you will not have my daughter. And it felt like the hand of God reached down inside of me, but the hand went beyond the seat, beyond the ground, and it just pulled me out of a very low place. I do believe in the power of prayer. Mm-hmm. I do believe that it's one of the most powerful communications we could ever have with God. So yes, that sustained me. My faith is what keeps me. It drives me because of those moments, all of it. I'm grateful for the hurts. I'm grateful for the disappointments. I'm grateful for the achievements, the small hills, all of it, actually.
And I'm glad you shared that, because oftentimes whenever we have guests on, it's the proverbial, we see people where they are, but we don't know what they've been led through in order to get here. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you were willing to share, your testimony in regards to, like you said, it was a series of events. There were some times where I was really not feeling anything, because sometimes people feel like you always have to have it together, and it's okay not to have it together. Yeah. But kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier today, it's okay not to have it together, and it's okay to feel some type of way, but you don't want to be stuck there. And the fact that you had, like you said, your mother and maybe countless other people, known or unknown, that were putting positive and constructive things out there to breathe back into you.
Right.
That's tremendous. So having had that, I'll say, reawakening or renewal, we know that part of anyone's faith journey is going to be, part of it is based on their stewardship and outreach. Mm-hmm. Can you walk through with our viewers some of the investment that you were able to make through the lens of stewardship?
Well, I say stewardship, and I say that with my whole heart, but I grew up watching my parents serve. So stewardship started as a young kid. I would say we shared my parents with everybody in the church. My dad was a musician, deacon in the church. My mom was an assistant pastor in the church, and they served. And whenever someone needed them, I was able to see it through that lens of what type of commitment that it takes for this life, this walk. And even if, let's just say hypothetically speaking, I didn't decide to be a Christian or walk this faith, I know what it looks like to serve, to sacrifice, deny yourself, deny your comfort, deny your sometimes peace, and take on the burden of others. So I was able to see that, which leads me to everything that I've done. I've served in ministry. I've served on the media teams. I've served in the capacity of feeding God's people. One of the things I, did once I was kind of out there, I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? I'm kind of just, it's sort of like you said, you don't know what to do. And so when you don't know what to do, that's when the word of God becomes evident in your life, because it's a living thing. And I clearly heard the Lord tell me, hey, feed them, pray. I said, okay, I can feed them. Feed them what? Prayers and pizza. free prayers, free pizza, and call it P squared. And I promise you it happened just like that. So it's called P squared. I literally go out. You may see me on Candler Road. You may see me anywhere posted up. You'll see my little car. You'll see people with me. And sometimes God will have me just stand there and do it alone. And I hold up this sign that says free prayers, free pizza. And the most amazing thing is, when you talk about free stuff, I'm thinking I'm about to give away a lot of pizza, and most people just want to come and get prayer. So it opens the dialogue to talk. Some people just want to talk. Some people just want to pray, to believe in something. I have a lot of people who say, I've never believed in God my whole life, but I need something right now. And so here's that opportunity for me to share not just scriptures, but share my life and what has happened in my life because of what I believe and what has worked for me. So I do that. Everything that I do is rooted in my faith. Every business that I have is rooted in my faith. There's nothing outside of that. And I could talk about that all day. Every time you ask me something, it's going to come back to the root of who I am. So.
And I'm glad you share that, because and different guests have been on here, and even directly or indirectly, the conversation goes back to, what's our base? What's our center? And in stewardship, like you were explaining with P squared, sometimes we're thinking about it on one level, but for lack of a better term, when his or her hand, because we don't know for sure, so I'm covering all my bases, when it's his or her hand that's in the midst, there's some greater things that can happen. So when you're thinking people are coming to be fed, yeah, they're being fed, but not always, physically. Mm-hmm. They need that calm. They need that space and place. So it's almost like I think about the adages of the praying grandmother or and it's funny, I talked about this with someone else, and I'm not necessarily going to go into the closet because I might not be able to get back out. And I don't know, my closet, my shelves are okay, but, I might, something might, rumble a little bit. But you're still providing that safe space and place for solace and renewal. So that's great that you're doing that with P squared. Are there some other examples or other projects that you're doing, whether it's engaging with young people or engaging with the elderly, where it is just providing that reminder of who they are and whose they are?
Yeah, I partner with a group of individuals called Higher Love Church, and they primarily focus on housing homeless individuals here in Atlanta. And I just say God's people because we're all God's people in different paths of life, different walks of life. And feeding. We just wrapped up at the end of 2020 a ministry at the Ramada Inn. So a lot of the homeless were there at the Ramada on Capitol downtown, and we were able to just love on people, and that was it. And what I found, so as we sit here with people and the arrogance that we could have, because people are homeless, you're not, I have a place to stay. And what I found is that we have some of the same issues. We have some of the same burdens. You think the same way, and it humbles you because we're all here trying to figure this thing out, man. That's it. And it was just one of the most amazing things that I've done, currently serving with another ministry, Reborn Ministries. We're currently working on a project where we're restoring an old abandoned school in Greenville, Georgia. It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait for us to present that to the world. Just restoring the people, restoring God's people, just loving God's people. So shout out to Reborn Ministries and Higher Love Church. But yeah.
And those are awesome things, and it's great with the stewardship examples that you're talking about. And I've shared with people, look, stewardship is not sedentary. Mm-hmm. And the fact that through various ways you're being as proactive as possible, and it's helping identify needs, and based on the resources that are available, what can be done, but also seeking out additional resources to continue to help. And another good thing, when you're sharing with us about just the share and exchange, where you're seeing that there's a lot more that brings us together than splits us apart.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind is just, don't judge a book by its cover. In order to know the content, you got to read it.
Yeah.
And so your form of reading is having that talking with, listening to, share and exchange, and seeing that there's a lot more that we have in common with each other than different. And having those dialogues are important.
You know what was amazing, though? Last year, 2020, when the pandemic first hit, whether you had money, rich, whether you had Lamborghinis or a Honda Accord, whether you had a Honda Accord or a bicycle, whether you had a bicycle or just 2 feet, whether you had 2 feet or a wheelchair, everybody was in the same space of the unknown, not knowing what was about to happen next. Your money could not purchase you out of it. Your wits could not outsmart you with the next person. It was common ground, and the whole entire world felt that. And for me, it just shifted what my goals were. I thought, and you think, once I get all of this money, once I get the business, once I'm able to impact the world, I will be this great person. But the truth of the matter is, we're the same, all of us. And it was just humbling. It was amazing. So now, and then that coupled with what happened at the Ramada, God just shifted my heart. I do have 2020 vision, clear vision now, to what really matters. So 2020 did give us clear vision. I will say that.
I will say this for people who are choosing, because it's almost like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right.
And all I know is I was led to water plenty of times last year, and I sure got my thirst satisfied. So I'm just saying, hey, we're just saying right there. But you make a good point, and I know other guests who have come on, Dr. Tanya Fenor, and I'm going to paraphrase the quote that she said, but it was, in dealing with chaos, it forces you to do something different. It forces you to tap into your creativity. It forces you, faith-wise, to have an even closer walk and things along those lines. You're so committed to, let's say, your clarity and your creativity and being able to add tools to your toolbox, so you're able to make adjustments to, and borrowing from Dean Jonathan Walton at my alma mater, School of Divinity, the now normal, and people have heard me say that before, and I'll continue to say it. As for now, there's certain ways you have to move.
Oh yeah.
But when things change, you're able to go ahead and make adjustments accordingly. So before we go to our commercial break, and on that theme of faith, your faith and your grounding are so central. Could you remind our viewers just the importance and relevance of some level of grounding, some level of understanding that there are things bigger than just you? And even in the midst of all of it, whether you think you're doing great, you're struggling, or somewhere in between, you can still be used for something constructive and something positive.
I mean, truthfully, there are people who've died in our past for believing in something. And I said the greatest impact that people have, we celebrate Martin Luther King, right? His birthday, we have his holidays, we have Martin Luther King's almost in every metropolitan city. And not once did we ever talk about what type of car Martin Luther King drove. Not once have we ever spoken of his net worth. We don't talk about those things. And I think the greatest part of purpose is not what you acquire, it's the impact that you have. And so legacy will always be bigger than you. And it's just that perspective. And so when you are seeking and you're trying to find purpose, purpose will always be bigger than you. It will always be more than you. And you know what? That will be the most fulfilling thing you'll ever do in your life. So I strive everybody to look for that. That's all I got.
Well, I tell you what, during this first segment, you're definitely dropping some gems. I hope people were taking notes, or like we say, run it back. So what we're going to do is this: we're going to take our first commercial break, and we come back from break, we're going to touch base on two of the key business ventures that you've got going on.
Sweet.
So stay tuned as we're going to go to our first commercial break.
Get amplified with author Nicole Sherrill. Her new release, Amplification, is available for download on the platforms that you see. Covering contemporary topics including Black Lives Matter, it's a very thought-provoking piece that you definitely want to add to your audio library. So remember, get amplified with Amplification. This Saturday in College Park, make sure to check out A Black Collective. It's a great way to engage with some movers and shakers in lifestyle, fashion, personal care, and more. Make sure that you are masked up and check them out this coming Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to connect with me this coming Saturday as I'm part of a panel of some great people doing great work in the public sector. Hosted by the Illinois chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the topic is how Black Greek letter organizations impacted the 2020 election and what's next, so make sure to check it out. Doing good, but doing it greater, that's what we're about at Creative Community Solutions. In addition to the education and press and media services provided, make sure to check out our coverage as we'll have updates regarding the work of people like Senator Raphael Warnock, op-eds, and other events taking place, so check us out today. Check out the current and upcoming interviews with yours truly. Make sure to visit the website shoutoutatlanta.com for their recent article on me. And next week, March 3rd, check me out as I'll be a guest on The V Report talking sports and more. So make sure to check out these great platforms. Many thanks to all the bookstores, book clubs, and more lending support to me, and check out the most recent ones. Make sure to add Black Writers Workspace, Detroit Book City, and Phoenix Blue Inc. for their recent features on me, including the books and more. So again, check them out and support today. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for our second segment with our exclusive time with Kristen Kinder. And during this segment, we're going to touch base on two of her key business ventures, and both of which are real creative. But before we get into that creative work of art right there, let's talk a little bit about the work that's done under Kris10 Media.
Okay. So Kris10 Media is a media company. We are all things photography and videography. So we are promotional videos. We partner with a lot of small businesses for promotional videos. So if you are a business and you have a vision, we pride ourselves in bringing that to life. Short films, we are working on some amazing things coming third quarter of this year. I'm so excited about the team. I'm so excited about partnering with a lot of other companies as well. Photography, is the root of it. Photography got me a seat at the table. So I love it. I love taking pictures. I love capturing moments and telling stories. I believe pictures are the thing. It's not the actual photo. It's the emotion that the photo evokes once you see it. And those are the type of pictures I love. Candid photos and just memorable moments.
And I'm glad you say that, because it's the whole capturing the story behind the story. Oh, yeah. Walk through with our viewers, if you could, a little bit of the backstory as to how you even got the seat at the table in regards to, do you remember your first camera?
My first camera was a disposable camera. So old school. This is going to expose my age. The disposable cameras that they had back in the day, you would take in and get the films developed. I don't even know the terminology anymore. That was crazy. I was in high school. So that was that. But the first moment I knew that I wanted to be a photographer, I was living in State College, Pennsylvania. And there was a lady named Darshell, and she has a salon called The Lasting Look. And I was there and a friend of mine was doing the makeup. She wanted to do this big thing where she wanted to do hair and makeup, and here's this great thing happening. I'm just sitting there. Here's this great thing happening. I'm just like, nobody's taking pictures. This is amazing. There was a guy, a photographer there, who had this amazing backdrop, great, standard gray, taking pictures of the shots of the models once they were done. But I'm like, there's so much happening in the now. So I take my Motorola Razr, this is back in the day, and I just start taking pictures of, snapping shots on my phone of that, those candid moments. And I created this flip book for all of the models and Darshell, and I presented it to her. And at that moment, it was, I don't know if it was her response to it or if it was just me just feeling excited about presenting it to her so she can capture this moment of her first The Lasting Look event. I don't know, it just set it off. And I just loved it. I said, I want to do this all the time. I want to do this, capture moments. You could be the photographers, put your backdrop down, that's great. I want to catch the magic. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
So it sounds like, and we've said this before, the story behind the story. So seeing what leads up to it, the blood, sweat, and tears to everything.
Yeah.
And so you started, and like a lot of great ideas, they started so simple.
Very simple.
So from that disposable to, I remember developing the film, and and you had the little film rolls and you put them in the drop box, and it was almost like, now really going old school, like those magic 8 balls, so you'd shake it and see what would happen. So it's like you dropped it in, you're hoping, okay, a couple days later something will happen. But of course things advance, things mature, and like you said, with the range of photography that you're doing, with individual shoots to business shoots to arts and entertainment, you're covering a tremendous amount of ground. What would you say, through the lens of photography and video, we're always looking for that next challenge that's going to challenge our skill set to help us to grow. What do you see as one of those next big challenges for Kris10 Media within those realms of video, photography? Like, what would you think would be the type of project that would be, if I had to work this type of project, this is going to push me a little bit further than what I've been pushed before? Not to say you haven't been pushed before, but what's one of those things that if you could envision that would be on the horizon, it's like, if I could do this type of project, this would really open up just a whole range of just impressive awesomeness, all that type of stuff?
Well, let me say this. I don't think we're anything without a great team. So between 2020 and 2021, right now, as we stand, we have developed great relationships. The next greatest project, and I say challenge, and I love a challenge, is the TV series. We actually started it last year, and now we actually have a production team. And so as we come back to this, we are revisiting and pushing at this point. So that is it. And we're going to get that ready for Netflix or Amazon. We're going to sell it to whoever has the best offer. And that's where we are right now.
Well, you might have heard in the opening, we do have a film. We actually do have a film division. Not trying to tell you where to go, but you might want to consider it.
Well, all right, I will consider it. Let's just whisper on the mic real quick and just say I'll definitely do that. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Some things aren't for public for public disclosure.
Well, that is the challenge. That is actually the goal. So that is what we're working on currently. Before, filming, we had to make sure we had the storyline together. We had to make sure that it made sense. We had to make sure our hearts were clear. So whatever we put out into the universe, whatever we put out into people's hearts and mind, there was a clear objective. It's entertaining. However, we want to change the world, the thought process, and that's what we had to work on.
Well, it sounds like you're already like that next challenge is already there. You're putting things in place. You are ordered with your steps, with your planning, your team. So we're definitely excited what's on that horizon. But then pivoting to another horizon, because creative minds do creative things. And to right where your left forearm is, you've got this creative masterpiece. And people have seen it from the from the commercial plugs, but now they get a chance to really find out more about the story behind 1820 hats. So walk through with our viewers the concept, the creative things you're doing with this fashion line, and the partnerships you've already got established.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been amazing. I've always loved hats, and I love fedora hats forever. So about 2 years ago, I wanted to create a company, Rewind. So my dad's an artist. I was a kid. I was about 5 years old, and I would see him draw. And I remember that moment, I would say this moment of clarity. I see the hat and I just said, this would be great with a picture on it or some paint or some color. And I'm like, hats are empty canvases. This would be great if I could just draw this and do this. And I sat on it for 2 years. A great idea, sat there, had no idea how I was going to get it started, who I was going to get on board, and even if I, per se, really wanted to do it, I had a desire. I didn't know if I wanted to do it. I was in another capacity, occupied in my mind, but here's what I say about teamwork. I was able to meet an amazing young woman. Her name is Bianca Malcolm, and Bianca was wearing a fedora. I said, you look good in that hat. You like hats? She was like, yeah, I do. And I told her about my idea. And she says, yeah, I want to show you my sketchbook. Bianca pulls out this book. And this book has amazing art that she did when she was in high school. She's a grown woman now, in her 20s. But I'm like, wow, you did this in high school? Let's do this together. I think it's ready. It's time. I'm ready. And I just believe that two are better than one. Because when one falls, the other one can pick them up. And I believe Ecclesiastes is one of the greatest teachers of our time when it comes to partnership. And sometimes it just takes that person to really spark that faith. Say, yeah, we can do it. Yes. She said, yes, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, great, let's do it. And we started this company. It's been going ever since. And she's one of the most amazing designers. Guys, when you see her hats, trust me, she's a force to be reckoned with. I always give her a plug because, I don't know, I just love her. I think she's amazing. Bianca Malcolm, shout out to Bianca.
That is amazing. And like you said, when you have where two or more are gathered, or when like minds, there's some great things. Mm-hmm. So describe to us, you have an example of one of your hats. Mm-hmm. And again, it's fedoras for men and women. Yes. Can you walk through a little bit about some of the creative designs, the sizes, just things along those lines? And I guess another thing is, where can you actually, put these wonderful creations to use?
Okay, so let me pop this one out. This is a fedora hat here. We have it here. You wear it here. It's creation. So you have the darkness here. Every hat tells a story. Because everything is, like I told you before, everything is faith-based. These hats have different colors. I would love for you, oh, there it is on the screen. Bam! That picture. But every hat tells a story. Every hat is a journey. And your hat is your crown. So when you place, the thought process is when you place the hat on your head, we've labeled the hats. We've given them stories. We've given them ideals. So when you place the hat on your head, we're hoping that you crown yourself with a thought process. We have an affirmations hat. We have a hat that looks like a crown. We have hats with messages. We have hats with paint that just reflects freedom. But ultimately, the foundation of 1820 hats is partnership. So this brings a collective thought together. Matthew 18:20. Where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am with him. God is in the midst. God is in partnership. And every time we create, we're hoping that this connects you with him. We're hoping that this connects you with a network of people that will allow you to change and inspire your world. And it's so many ways we can go with that. Now, if you have specifics, I can answer, but we just operate in freedom. We have a lot of partnerships coming, so we have collections with a lot of people. The first person that we did a collection with, her name was Jamelia, and her business is Hot Prayers. Shout out to Jamelia Warner, who's a pastor at Faith by Hearing in Noonan, Georgia. And it's called She Brave. We have a short film that's coming out for She Brave. We'll be releasing that pretty soon. And the second partnership we have is with Sherelle Anderson. Oh my God. And she's on it. It's called I Am Amazing. And Sherelle, if you've ever met Sherelle, you already know what you're in for. So a couple of connections that we have so far. That was a lot, I know.
But you know what? But again, like I'll tell people, when you're around creative minds, their minds are always at work. They're looking for that next thing. And it's not doing it for the sake of doing it. Mm-hmm. You've got, again, like we said, and borrowing from that first segment, faith is ever present with what you do. Oh, yeah. And so just, with 1820 and that tie-in, and what you're doing is, and we talked about this before, you're seed planting. Mm-hmm. And you're saying your crown. And so when I hear crown, I'm thinking, king, queen, regal. Mm-hmm. We're special, we're talented, we're gifted. Mm-hmm. So that's already, when you're throwing your hat on, to varying degrees, that's your daily affirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. Our hopes is that the hats will trigger conversations. And with those conversations, you're not just talking about a hat company. You then begin to speak about what the hat means. And so then that takes this message that we created in a conference room to the world. So if you're in Dallas, if you're in France, if you're in Africa, thank you, Nigeria, great supporters. Thank you guys so much for rocking with 1820s. But if you're all over the world, then the hat becomes a message within itself. It's the message that keeps on speaking, or the gift that keeps on giving. Creation. That's who we are. We're creators. We're created in the image of God and in his likeness. And because of that, we multiply. We are fruitful in all things, which means we are creators. Everybody's a creator. I believe that. That's what we're here to do. Multiply. Be fruitful. In any regard, there's purpose in that. So, yeah, we're just hoping every hat just inspires. Yeah.
Powerful message, a powerful statement. Before we get ready to go to our next commercial break, remind people the best ways to stay connected with Kris10 Media and the best ways to get connected with 1820 Hats. There's things on the horizon. Spring is coming. Mother's Day is on the horizon. Graduation. So let people know the best ways to stay connected with, again, Kris10 Media as well as 1820 Hats.
Listen, guys, we have some amazing stuff coming out in spring. I almost wanted to prematurely release it, but the team was like, no, not yet. Wait, but definitely stay connected. www.1820hats.com. We are 1820 Hats on Facebook. We are 1820 Hats on Instagram. Stay connected. If you want to know what's happening, what's coming out, what sizes you wear, how many different types of fedoras we carry, definitely reach out. We are open. We have a team that will be readily available to respond to you. Kris10 Media, you can find me at Kris10 Media on Facebook. You can find me at Kris10, Kris, the number 10 _ media on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Instagram.
So find me there. And you can see some of the photos. You can see some of the short films. You can see some of the videos we've done for wedding photography. We do it all. So just check us out. Reach out, and we'll look forward to painting your vision for the world. Yeah.
Sounds good. And there you have it. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our second commercial break. And we come back for our last segment. If you're not blown away by the creative genius that you see right here, I tell you what, this next segment, yeah, it's definitely on. It's definitely on. So stick with us. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on the Conversation Corner.
Calling out to all essential workers, self-employed, even the unemployed. As we know, it's tax season, so make sure to reach out to Lee's Tax Service today. Professional service and more, and on top of that, a couple of incentives during this rainy season. Baseball, HBCU style. Make sure to check out the website bcsg360.org, as there are some great HBCU baseball classics taking place in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as Frisco, Texas. So check out the great play on the diamond and beyond. Get your merch from the author Andrew Snorton. Right now we have bracelets and mugs available that we can get to you individually, or you can pair them up with any of my books. So check out the info that you see here and get your merch today. As a reminder, each and every Wednesday at about 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, join me for my weekly live chat series, The Fast 15. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom, and let's check in, enjoy a short reading, and more. Live free. That's the motto behind 1820 hats, the customized fedoras for men and women inspired by Matthew 18:20. Make sure to remember that your hat is your crown, so make sure to check them out and get yours today. All About the Authors 520 takes place every second and fourth Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's hosted by celebrity source Tyressa Ty and co-hosted by yours truly. So make sure to check out this week's edition. And speaking of, check out this preview of the author's mixtape.
How is it that something that looks so frail can be so beautiful and so powerful that it's more than planting seeds? It is evoking that range of emotion that just about everybody needs. And I'm not talking about some tower of power. I'm talking about giving people their flowers. Now, we've heard this usually at the dawn of the day or when someone has finished climbing up the rough side of the mountain. You know what I'm talking about. The homegoing, the swaying, the recitals of how wonderful somebody is, and the wonderful stories of how they used to.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for our third and final segment of the show. And as you saw during the commercial break, as some of you know, there's an audiobook series that I do called the Author's Mixtape. And as you heard, it's basically taking the freestyle experience and bringing it to the audiobook world. So tomorrow is when it will actually be available. But this volume, volume 4, was done just a little bit differently, as in some way, shape, or form, some creative genius just kind of rolled up on me and said, look at here. Now, what you've done is good, but I'm gonna throw a little something extra in there. And see, modesty, look at that, ladies and gentlemen, just so modest. But for the 4th volume called the Collab, I tell you what, it was a very creative process to have Kris10 join us and contribute and drop a few tracks. So Kristen, walk through with our viewers, you know, what drew you to the concept of being a part of the next edition of this freestyle audiobook series?
Yo. I'm joking. Truthfully, I was asked by this guy named Andrew Snorton. He just had this belief that I could come to the studio and do something with a freestyle. And something crazy within me said, okay, I'm going to show up. Let's do it. And truthfully, showing up in the studio with you, you edified me so much walking through the door. He hyped me up. Yes, you did. He hyped me up so much that I felt that I would be slighting him and myself if I said otherwise. So I just allowed him to do that. And I said, okay, God, all right, let's do it. I had no idea what we were going to talk about. I just knew when you walked in, you had a pen and subjects. I said, cool, so I'm going to hop on those subjects. I don't know what I'm doing, but when I got in, it was just this moment of clarity. And I believe that we always have something on our heart, and that's what you said. You said, you have something on your heart, it'll be able to come out. And I said, okay, Lord, then if you have me here, then I have something to say, and I'm just going to give it all I got. And that's literally all I did.
You know, it spoken like a true creative artist and taking creative license. And the truth, ladies and gentlemen, is probably somewhere in the middle. Now, in all fairness, anytime you're doing something impromptu and freestyle, it's the range of emotions can be like terrified, like what on earth am I doing? But you can also be fearless and be like, bump it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Now, in all fairness, when I came in, I had my notebook and I just had the individual titles. But after that, whatever came out from that, that was just, like they say, just shooting straight from the dome. But I think what makes that an amazing experience is that if you feel like, quote, you can't write, or you can't speak, you're challenging yourself to actually come up with something. Now, let me ask you this, because you got to see me in the booth first to be like, don't do what he did, do something better. What would you say, walk through with our viewers the recording experience, like when you first, because you've done your share of speaking and hosting and all of that, but what was it like when you walked into the actual booth and got the headphones on and got on the microphone?
So rewind, when I saw you in the booth, what I saw was somebody who was relentless and you were just free. And that made it that much easier for me because you were just saying whatever was in your heart, just going. And it was hilarious, a lot of it, in the first beginning parts. And I was like, okay, so I can be funny. And then when I walked in, the door closes, and shout out, let's see your
Third
t-shirt.
level, Third Level Entertainment.
I just wanted to point that out. That shirt right there is, yes, hello. But walking into the studio, the setup was amazing because once you're inside of that room, it's just you and that mic. For me, it was me, that mic, and the Lord. So I'm like, okay, headphones, let's do it. And you just get lost in that. So there's a picture they just put up. I saw you just get lost in that space. Eyes closed, it's just you. And you're ready to go. I loved it. I loved every moment of it, actually. It was amazing. Keith, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. When you, and anyone who does this, whether you're recording an audiobook or music artist, like when you step into the booth, it's like everything is just cut off. It almost like in golf, they say when you're playing a game of golf, it's you against the course. And in that same principle, when you step in the booth, it's just you and the mic.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. And I'll tell you what, and we are going to play a snippet of one of the tracks that you recorded, but what would you say? So, you had this bundle of energy. Some of it was nervous energy, some of it was excited energy. You thought you were going to do one thing, but then you went in and you just went in a totally different direction. What would you say, in looking back at that recording experience, what would you say was the most, I'll say, thrilling or positive or satisfying moment about that recording experience?
The confirmation afterwards. My life, the path of my life comes from the Lord. Every step that I take is ordained by Him. And so He confirms it. And so at one moment, whatever it was that came from that moment was confirmed by the owner of the studio. And when that happened, I think it clicked. I'm supposed to be here. This was ordained by you, Lord. Okay. And I was satisfied in that moment, because those are the things that satisfy you, right? To know that you're in His perfect will, or you're in your purpose. That was it for me. And that's it for me with everything that I do, that confirmation. So that day, even though I had no idea what I was going to talk about, I didn't know anything about what we were about to do other than what I've heard you do, and you were so great at it. I'm like, I got to flow off of the dome? Okay. But when that was confirmed, that was the most satisfying moment in life. Money can't buy that. You can't pay for that. Like, there's no artificial moments that can create that. Like, I loved it. I went to bed with peace and ease of that night. So yes, thank you for the invite.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And hey, it was just one of those things. I was like, said to myself, this seems like something that would work, and especially being aware of some, not everything, but some of the things that you needed to go ahead and put out there. And the fact that you put that out there, and like I'll tell anybody, whether it's through the lens of writing or song, you're providing that voice. So for folks that have it in here but they don't feel comfortable with it coming out here, that's what makes it so comfortable. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a portion of one of the tracks you recorded. And of course, some of it's poetry, spoken word, and a little bit of music, but we're going to listen to a section of this track that you did called Awake. So let's go ahead and go to it.
Rise and shine. Time to get on the grind. What's on your mind? Is it how the time rewinds when you are flowing in your purpose, but it's worth it? All right, now snap out of it. Get up, get up, get up, get up, make it happen. You relaxing and time is passing you by. Time flies. Have you ever seen your idea floating across the TV screen only to realize it wasn't you? I mean, it was your idea, but you sat on it because you thought you...
And that was a snippet from Awake, which was definitely taking that spoken word a little bit elevated with the great music track and those reflections. Like when I first heard it, I was thinking about just getting started, getting your day started. You know, like our elders say, get your mind right, get your spirit together.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we've talked about on the show tonight, and just in general about all these great ideas, don't let them just stay there. You know, or, you know, don't let things pass you by. You might not be able to do everything, but there's some things that you can definitely do. So when you listen to that segment and you put yourself back in the mindset of when you were recording Awake, what are some things that speak to you that you also want to make sure to convey to anyone that listens or reads or what have you?
Nothing happens until you move. Nothing happens until you wake up. It's important to clear your thoughts, you know. I was listening to it, and truthfully, when I'm waking up, it is a moment of trying to kind of redirect your thoughts. What's happening? Okay, snap out of it. All right, it's time to move. And there's just this moment of clarity. Waking up as a metaphor, waking up in the morning, waking up just in general. There's this is always a moment of clarity of what's about to happen. And you understand that it cannot happen until you actually get up and make it happen. You know what I mean? So I think just going into that place of walking yourself to your destiny, taking that accountability to what's happening in your life, that's huge. There's no other way around that. There's no magic. There's no science. There's just strictly accountability and your willingness to get up and make it happen. Period. So, I had a story to go with that. Do we have time?
Yeah.
So I had a story. I had a loved one. I had a dream. So God gives me these dreams, and I had a dream that one of my loved ones, she walked away and she fell down and she started shaking. So in the dream, I go to her, and she says to me, "Kristen, command my spirit back into my body." And I just remembered that it was crazy. So I started speaking, hey, you should live again, live. You should live and not die. I command your spirit to go back into you. This is in my dream. And I felt her heartbeat. And then I remember taking her to, in my dream, who was my father, my dad, in my dream. And I woke up. And I shared this dream with her. And she says to me, I'm awake. She says to me, if that ever happens, you be sure to speak me back into my body. I'm not ready to die. And that was the last thing she said. I drove off. And then God says to me, if you live, what are you holding on to? Why do you want to live? And I'm like, I should ask her that. And then he says, and then when you ask her that, tell her then that's what she should be doing. And he said, and if you're holding on to life, whatever it is that makes you want to live, whatever it is that makes you desire life, because we fight death. Nobody just, at times we do, right? But nobody in a safe place just wants to die, right? So my challenge is, whatever it is that fight that you have to live, you should be doing that every day. You should be doing that at every moment, because every breath is one breath closer to that day, And if Jesus is the way, if he's the truth, if he's the life, his life was over when he said it was finished. He said, it is finished, last breath, it was over. That's the way. So, is it finished? When you think about your life, when you think about your goals, when you think about your purpose, every day you live, is it finished? Has it been fulfilled? And if it hasn't, do it. Wake up. Do it. Awake. That's what I think about.
Well, I tell you what, in giving more of that backstory, I think when people download that tomorrow, hint, hint, hint.
Hint, hint, down.
Hopefully you have some of those same, if not even deeper takeaways. So it was great working with you on that project, and we know there's more in store. We know that there's more. There's definitely more in store. So as a reminder, with the Author's Mixtape Volume 4, it'll be available starting tomorrow, and that will be on your favorite platforms like Tidal, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Apple Music. Just type in the Author's Mixtape and go ahead and get Volume 4 if you want to check out that track. The other tracks, and of course there's one track that of course you need to cop the book for, that one special track. But we are so excited, on that. So as we get ready to gradually wind down this show, there's a couple of real quick closing announcements. So we can get that first one up here, and it's Take Note. Now, some of you might remember us doing something similar for our previous show. And with this week, has definitely been an interesting week. If you see from left to right, you see the profile of Ahmaud Arbery, as yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of his passing. And I say passing to be polite. People can read between the lines on that. But it's a reminder of the work that still needs to be done while we're here. So the work on that case is still unfinished. Earlier in the week, actually it was Sunday, was actually the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X. Again, do your research in regards to his message. And while some people are like, he was this, he was that, if you do some research, he was actually drifting a lot closer to someone else that we mentioned on this show, very well known, whose birthday was back in January. Tiger Woods, we found out the news yesterday or the day before about his wreck. And we know spiritually God has the final say. So while it doesn't sound that great, remember some things early on don't sound that great. So we're hoping that, for his sound, just recovery. Let's not worry about the golf. Let's just worry about your recovery. And the last one that you see is an op-ed that I did last Wednesday on making sure not to fall asleep at the wheel. And the reason why I did that op-ed is while people are still euphoric over what happened with the early voting in October and then the voting for the runoff, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Georgia resident, please get in contact with your elected officials in the Georgia legislature. In case you have not heard, there are measures that have cleared subcommittee and committee level regarding limiting access for early voting. And we know how important early voting was in regards to two people who are serving in Senate, as well as a certain person, actually people who are serving as president and vice president. So as best as possible, go on the web or refer to the article that's on asnortonccs.com/blog. Look at the embedded info in that op-ed and utilize your voice. I'll put it as it said before, if they weren't doing these types of efforts, it lets you know how important and powerful your voice truly is. So as we get ready to close out tonight's show, I tell you what, it has been a great time with our exclusive guest, Kristen Kinder. Continued well wishes, blessings with not only the stewardship and outreach you're doing, the work you're doing with Kris10 Media and 1820 Hats, and of course, y'all, the audiobook. She was like, I want to be on it. So all that other stuff we had was called creative license, but make sure to cop that for tomorrow. Shouts to Third Level Entertainment and Canis Major Digital. For our next show, which will be on March the 10th, we will go ahead and resume our Her Story series where we're profiling women who are doing some great work in leadership in public service. So you definitely want to check that out. And finally, in closing, this couldn't happen, obviously, if it weren't for real up top, but shouts to the entire ownership at the Status Network, the production team. They do an outstanding job of making this happen each and every second and fourth Wednesday. So thank you for taking time to support this show and all of our shows. Check us out, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, be safe out there, and we will see you in March.
What's going on, y'all? This is the author, Andrew Snorton, and this is the 4th volume of the author's mixtape, the Collab. And what do we mean by collaboration? Get ready to hear something from the notes, pad, paper, and pen from my partner, Kris10. Now, don't worry about it. I'm going to do a few tracks of my own, but this time we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of seasoning, just a little bit of flavor. Stir up the pot just a little bit. Like that gumbo from way down on the bayou. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some shrimps, some sausage. Y'all ain't ready. So it's going to be 3 from me, 3 from her, a combo, and she's going to knock out the outro. So again, this is the Collab, the author's mixtape, volume number 4.